Hey everybody, Nicholas Snow here, and this is the Snowstorm, your quintessential LGBTQ plus Sunday show. And today's broadcast, one of the things we'll learn is how come Desert Stonewall Democrats are the opposite of log cabin Republicans. Hello, everybody. Nicholas Snow here. This is the Snowstorm for June 9th, 2024. It's just after 9 a.m. broadcasting live on YouTube. If you and LinkedIn and X, if you're watching on Facebook, you're watching a rebroadcast because of technical difficulties. So if you want to watch the show when it's first going live, always subscribe to the YouTube channel because that is where you can get the first run episodes, and the address is right there on your screen, youtube.com/PromoHomo.TV network. So it's Pride weekend, and as a matter of fact, two of my guests today are going to be departing from the broadcast to their various Pride festivities, wherever they may be celebrating. I'm right here in Palm Springs, where this weekend we've had the big gay barbecue. It's a gay weekend all around, and one of the themes that we'll be talking about today, as always, is protecting democracy. PromoHomo.TV is all about empowering you, our communities, and our world. Shouting out to my media partners. Pink Media, amplifying PromoHomo.TV across the Twitterverse with their hashtag I Love Gay campaign. GayDesertGuide.lgbt. And KGay 1065 Palm Springs, available worldwide. Ask your smart speaker to play KGAY. Here's the deal, folks. We have two distinct choices. We can prepare ourselves to live under authoritarian rule, or we can do everything in our power to save democracy. And saving democracy is the precise reason I have launched the Snowstorm, your quintessential LGBTQ plus Sunday show at 9 a.m. Pacific. Find it at PromoHomo.TV. On this episode of the Snowstorm, I'm about to welcome members of Desert Stonewall Democrats. Their mission, in their words, we are devoted to advancing equal rights for all people, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity. And for those of you who are watching live, if you have a comment or a question for any of my panelists or me, comment on social media and I'll be able to curate your comments onto the screen. Except if you're watching live on Instagram, I can see comments over to my right and I will refer to them verbally. And I want to say hello to my viewers over there on Instagram. Just a quick reminder, you can support this network for as little as $3 a month. Go to patreon.com/PromoHomo.TV. That's patreon.com/PromoHomo.TV. And I have a fun commercial later in the show, but for those of you who are just watching the beginning, I have really fun, hopeful sexual merch. We're all hopeful sexuals. If you add .com to the word hopeful sexual, it will take you to an Amazon store where you can get baseball shirts, tank tops, hoodies, sweatshirts, and t-shirts in a variety of sizes, shapes, and colors. So without delay, I want to bring in my panelists, and they're connecting from all over the place. So let me bring them onto the screen. I have David Weiner, I have Dion Hopings, and Samuel. Samuel, your audio and video have disconnected for some reason. So please, oh, there you are. And I have Samuel Turley. Fantastic. Welcome, everybody.
Good morning.
So just for the fun of it, we'll start with you, David. David, where are you watching? Where are you connecting from today?
I am in Los Angeles. I came in yesterday for the Pride Festival, and then later this morning I will be marching in the Pride Parade,
With
which is
Equality
in Hollywood,
California.
with Equality California.
Okay, and Samuel, where are you watching from?
I'm also in Los Angeles. I'm going to be marching in the parade and then heading over to Riverside for an opening of their new one of their new Pride centers.
Fantastic. So, Samuel, I know you have some driving to do, so I'm going to keep you. I'm going to get into the meat of what you'd like to share today soon. But Deanne, where are you watching from?
I'm in my home in Cathedral City.
And I do know that you're running off to a volunteerism gig, so you're all very involved. And this is LA Pride weekend. Last weekend was West Hollywood Pride weekend. Now, Samuel, where are you based?
Palm Springs.
Oh, you're based in Palm Springs as well. All right.
I live in I live in La Quinta, but I'm based in the Coachella Valley.
Okay, so one of the themes of the Snowstorm is protecting democracy, and one of my goals is to spotlight people who are involved in that particular fight. And Sam, I would love for. Is it okay if I call you Sam, or do you like Samuel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Samuel.
So Samuel is good. All right. So Samuel, would you please tell me, because I don't like to be called Nick, so I got you there. Tell me what you think is most important for our viewers to know about your personal commitment to the fight, your involvement with organizations like Desert Stonewall Democrats, and what unique information you have to share for us today.
Yeah, so I've been involved with Stonewall Democrats for over 2 years now. It's a wonderful organization that is really committed to upholding our values and protecting our community here in the Coachella Valley. My day job, I actually work for an LGBTQ civil rights organization, Equality California. I'm here with my Desert Stonewall hat on today, but I'm committed to that organization as well, passing state and federal legislation to protect our community. And I've gotten the privilege of working with David and Deanne to really bring some great content and be able to speak to the legislative priorities and what's going on legislatively, as well as in California and across the country that affects our community.
Would you talk about what's going on legislatively as it relates to California to the best of your ability, and try to connect it to what people can do?
Right. So in California, I think in 2022 we really had this sense of we're protected here. Once we saw the fall of Dobbs, in which was the case that overturned a woman's right to choose. Once we saw that pass nationwide, it really showed us that, and what we saw from the dissenting Supreme Court justices that called out various legal cases that set precedents, like Lawrence v. Texas, which protects our right to privacy in the bedroom, and Obergefell, which protected our right to marry. So Justice Thomas famously called out these cases as possible cases to be revisited in the future. And here in California, while we have passed numerous protections in the state, we're not safe here, basically. At the federal level, if Republicans retake control of the presidency and Congress next year, they can pass legislation that will impact our communities. This legislation includes bans on trans people playing in sports, bans on gender affirming care, and potentially, if the Supreme Court got their way, the overturning of Obergefell. And in California, we historically passed this awful proposition in 2008 called Prop 8, and that proposition legally enshrined marriage as between one man and one woman in our state constitution, and that that language still exists in our constitution. So if you remember, President Biden signed the Respect for Marriage Act last year. this bill or this piece of legislation codifies same-sex marriage into law where it already exists. So that caveat means that in states that have legalized it through the legislative process or ballot initiative, then if Obergefell were to be overturned, same-sex marriage would be protected and affirmed in those states. So if you got married in Washington State and you moved to Idaho, your marriage would still be valid if Obergefell fell. However, in the state of California, due to our that language still being included, we are, there's a new proposition called ACA 5 that aims to repeal Proposition 8. And there's numerous ways that people can get involved, volunteer, get out to vote. A lot of younger people don't know about, or like, for example, when Proposition 8 passed, I was 10 years old. So I wasn't able to vote. I didn't know what was going on. And it's really important to connect back to a lot of these issues that really galvanized our community in the beginning. Prop 8 was a real rallying issue for our community to come up and really show and flex our political muscle. And unfortunately, it didn't go our way, but it shows you the power of the LGBTQ plus community when we come together and organize around a single issue like this. And this is codifying same-sex marriage into our state constitution here in California to protect us from the Supreme Court itself. There's numerous ways you can get involved locally. You can get involved with Desert Stonewall Democrats. We are always volunteering. We are always tabling events. We are showing up at prides. We are trying to educate the community on the importance of voting and legislation and why it's so important here in California to stay involved, because so goes California, so goes the rest of the nation. So if we continue to be involved and press our leaders here, then we have a wider national impact. And looking forward to November, I see here in the Coachella Valley, we have for Congress, our Congressman Ken Calvert historically has voted for anti-LGBTQ legislation. He voted against the Matthew Shepard hate crimes bill. He voted numerous times against the Equality Act, and he only switched up his position when he was drawn into the Palm Springs district and decided that he needed to be a little more LGBTQ plus friendly. But that doesn't change the fact that he's tried to put in all of these amendments as chair of the Appropriations Committee. He's put in all of these amendments to try to hurt LGBTQ service members and deny them of their benefits. So he's still just the same. And let's not forget how he got his start in politics. His second term in office, he outed now Congressman Mark Takano with sending pink flyers to the entire community saying, will he be a representative for Riverside or for San Francisco? So this is a man who is willing to play dirty politics and willing to throw our community under the bus in order to advance his own agenda.
So Mark Takano was not out at that time.
No, this was 1994, and this was
Okay.
Mark Takano's first run for Congress, and Congressman Calvert actually outed him.
Well, success is the best revenge. Before
Right,
I let
and
you go
yeah.
ahead, Samuel. Well, before I let you
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, getting involved with Desert Stonewall is a really great way to get involved both locally and nationally. We assist with campaigns at all levels. So from the very, very local city and school board level, where school boards have become the major fight for LGBTQ rights going forward here in the state, but also at the national level, you can volunteer on various campaigns, door knocking, connecting with voters, sharing your experience, and why you as an LGBTQ plus person or as a straight ally think it's so important to get out the vote and support these pro-equality candidates who are really going to be champions for our issues. So there's many ways you can get involved. So just if you ever see David, myself, or Deanne, just hit us up and we can always find things for you to do.
I'm actually going to put the website address on the screen right now. Before I let you go, I know that you've got to rush off. You have a drive ahead of you. David, is there anything you would like Samuel to add to what he said before we let him go?
Yeah, actually, There's a major piece of legislation that's making its way through the state assembly and Senate. And Samuel, maybe you want to talk a little bit about the Safety Act.
Yeah. So the Safety Act is our response to, so across California, in 2022, Republicans, because they can't win it, they haven't been successful at the state and federal level electorally here in the state. Republicans have shifted their attention and resources to our school boards, where they're nonpartisan seats where usually they can slip by and get on these boards. And what we saw primarily in Temecula and in Chino Valley Unified School Districts and in other districts across the state was you had these conservative school board majorities come in and then immediately try to pass various policies that were counter to what is codified in a lot of California educational policy. So, for example, in Temecula, first they passed a ban on critical race theory, which, as we know, critical race theory is not taught in our high schools, it's not taught in our middle schools, it's not taught in our elementary schools. Critical race theory is a advanced course that, you know, I myself didn't learn about critical race theory until my junior year of college. So this isn't an issue that is being taught. In terms of the they've also passed forced outing policies, which requires teachers or any school staff to forcibly out a student if they decide to change their name, or if they want to go by a different name from their given name, or they want to use a different pronoun from the pronoun that is on their birth certificate. And so a lot of these school boards also have passed like pride flag bans, but I'm going to focus on the forced outing policy here. And this was passed in Temecula Valley, Chino Valley, and a few other in Murrieta school districts. So what we have done is, and after like extensive legal and investigation into what we can do, a new act has been introduced called the Safety Act, or AB 1955. And this act will seek to codify some of that existing language and then also protect teachers and administrators from retaliatory attacks by school boards. So if you didn't report within the 3 days, you could be fired as a teacher. And, you know, I think a lot about my dad, who was a music teacher for over 35 years. And, you know, he was that trusted resource in his school. You know, so many students would go to him with so many personal issues, and because they had that trust and they felt safe in doing so. And what this bill will do is to ensure that our trans and non-binary, and as well as our LGBTQ plus students in general, cannot be outed by their schools. And it also protects those teachers, and it gives parents more resources to better understand these issues. And it protects our teachers, who are those trusted, guidance counselor, that trusted person in these children's lives when they, you know, we all know we would love to have every single parent be accepting and involved in their child's education, but unfortunately that's not always the case. And this bill simply codifies that and makes sure that we are protecting our good teachers who are trying to create that inclusive space for students. I'm sure all of us remember a teacher at a time who provided that safe space for us when we felt unsafe everywhere else. And it's so important to maintain those relationships, and it's so important to continue to protect public education in this country and protect our teachers who are doing a myriad of other jobs. We should be upholding and affirming and protecting our teachers who are creating this safe space, and also protecting the LGBTQ plus students, because as we know, coming out is such a personal issue to all of us. And for anyone who's ever been forcibly outed, it's an awful feeling. And with a community that is already at much higher rates of suicidal ideation and self-harm, we need to do all that we can to protect these communities from further damage and further bullying and further othering of these communities. And that's what AB 1955 will do. It's called the Safety Act, and it's going to be in the Appropriations Committee tomorrow. I'll share with Nicholas and David, and if you go on Desert Stonewall, we should be able to get out. The Appropriations Committee will be meeting tomorrow about this. There's various phone numbers you can call. It's very easy. You can just call and speak your support. We have hundreds and hundreds of participants on the opposite end, anti-LGBTQ activists who are pushing to get this act defeated, and they're showing up in force. This is what they do. They're a very small majority of this state, but they're so loud that oftentimes they seem much bigger than they actually are. So it's important for us as a community to continue to show up. And so we'll get you those the appropriations phone numbers for various assembly members so that we can, as a community, call and voice our support for this bill.
Well, I really want to thank you for all the valuable information that you've shared today. And I was just thinking you'd be perfect for national network TV. I hope that you end up there because seriously, we need more people like you speaking for us. And is there anything else you would like to say before you run off to the Pride Parade?
No, I just wanted to say how much I appreciate you, Nicholas, for having us on the show, and just for all the work that you do in using your voice and in your megaphone to really project the issues of our community. Like you've been an incredible voice, incredible advocate for this community.
Thank you. I will not cry right now, but please let Equality California know that this show is happening. It can happen every Sunday morning. And I'm all between now and November. I'm here for anyone that needs this platform. So please spread the word and happy Pride.
Happy Pride, Nicholas.
All right, drive safely. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Okay, take care.
So here we are. I'm going to give Deanne center stage because I don't know if you can see the shot, but I've just made you center stage, Deanne.
Yeah.
Let's start with you, David. Is there anything, and if you could center your body in your shot, I don't know if you can see it, but that's perfect.
There we go.
What would you like to add to anything that Samuel shared, and while we're fresh on what he's had to say today?
One of the Equality California is one of the organizations that we really do partner with a lot. It is really, we have the same mission to protect and advocate for LGBTQ plus rights at the state and federal level. Our work really does focus more on the state level, but we do work with our congressional candidates and our sitting congressperson. So we, of course, have Raul Ruiz, who's represented the Coachella Valley or parts of the Coachella Valley for over 12 years now. And we have Will Rollins, who we would like to see representing the western part of the valley, and unseat Ken Calvert, who, as Samuel had mentioned, is really just a horrible, has horrible positions on our rights. He's never stood for our rights. He has used outing of his opponent over almost 30 years ago as a way to achieve his own political success. And I, for one, and I think I speak for most of our community in the Western Coachella Valley, are kind of shocked and disgusted that he is quote unquote representing us in Washington. So we're doing a lot of work with Congressman Ruiz and with Will Rollins to make sure that we take back the House and that we focus and advocate for our values, our issues. One of the things, maybe this is a good segue, in 2 weeks from yesterday, on June 22nd, Desert Stonewall Democrats is hosting a fundraiser for both Will Rollins and Dr. Raul Ruiz. It's going to be in Palm Springs. It's a luncheon. We are calling it the George Zander Equality Awards. George Zander, if you do not know, was one of our founding members. He was brutally attacked, I think it was 10 or 12 years ago. And the police and the district attorney decided and prosecuted it as a hate crime. He was attacked because he was holding his partner's hand walking down the street in the Arenas district. And we wanted, George was a dear friend of mine and many people in our community. And so we wanted to do this event and name the luncheon in his honor and in his memory. We also are very excited that Senator Barbara Boxer will be joining us. We are presenting her with a Lifetime Achievement Award. She has been an ally for our community from all the way back when she was city council person in Sausalito, and then she went on to Marin County Supervisor, then the House and the Senate. So we're excited very much to welcome her. This will probably be the last time that Will Rollins, Raul Ruiz, and Barbara Boxer will share a stage before the election. So we'd like everyone to check out our website, desert-stonewall.org. We have some information and a link where you can purchase tickets. And 100% of the funds raised will go to the campaigns. We also will be having a silent auction of some really cool prizes and items, and that the funds raised from the silent auction will actually support Desert Stonewall and our work to support candidates in the fall.
Well, that sounds amazing. And there's a couple of weeks from this live broadcast for the word to spread about that. And the website, of course, has been on the screen throughout much of the show. Deanne, I'm sorry to just leave you sitting there for most of this time, but first of all, I admire you greatly. I'm a fan of yours, and I appreciate who you are in the world and all the work that you do. That same goes for you, David. And this was my first introduction to Samuel, but he's just so amazing. I'm very impressed by him. Deanne, what would you like to add to our conversation today about anything that's transpired so far and any points that you feel remain to be made?
Okay. Well, yeah, one thing, and unfortunately, since Samuel is gone, but we have him speak about legislative issues before the Stonewall group periodically. And the great thing about that is, you hear bits and pieces in the news and things, but from his background and his experience and what he's working on, you get the connect the dots kind of thing. And I think that's a very important thing for people to understand. We do bring in speakers, for our monthly meetings, and the focus is it may be LGBT issues, but not entirely. Okay, and I think I like that we give a kind of a broader context of things. Last month we had another Dr. Ruiz come talk about the Salton Sea and its history, how we got here, what things might happen going forward, and plus and minus. Because there's a lot of discussion right now about this thing about lithium mining could just turn around the whole Salton Sea thing, and so we have to think that there's so many issues that affect all of us, whether we're part of the community or not. And when we brought Dr. Ruiz in, I thought that was a really good message because the Salton Sea, and certainly before my time that I got here, because I've only been here about 8 years, but I knew about it and I knew what happened to it, and that's an issue that affects everybody in the valley. Okay, and so we do try to have from time to time a broader focus about things. We our meetings focused on Women's History Month, Black History Month, the Hispanic community. So there's a lot of things that we try to do, a lot of bases we try to cover, because these are all pieces to the puzzle, you see. So the on a different topic, one of the things that I think is very important politically is doing something about how trans people in the country or in other places too, but how we have become targets, and that is just absurd, you know. And I one of the things that really, if we be plain spoken here, one of the things that just burns my ass when people think that we become, and whether we're talking about, lesbians, gays, bisexual people, trans folks, whomever, we don't become, we are, and see, to me, the proof of that is if conversion therapy worked, then if there was something to change, something to reverse, but there isn't. That's why it doesn't work. But folks, continue to hang on to that hope, and that's just not how it is.
Yeah, it's not that the process of coming out in any way, shape, or form across the LGBTQIA plus spectrum is reporting a change. It's telling the truth about what has always been.
Yeah. If anybody spent any time reading the stories of LGBT folks, what they realize is folks knew that they were different. They didn't understand what and how, and none of that, no vocabulary, but they knew that they were different from their peers at single digit ages. So it's like I'm being a retired engineer, I always try to think in logical terms, and there is no logic there, you see.
Well,
But
I've known since at least the third grade.
yeah,
Listen, I'm going to take a quick break, and I know both of you have places to go. So when we come back, I'm going to let both you, David, and you, Deanne, conclude with whatever you think still remains to be stated. And I'm hoping, David, you'll give us your review of Ricky Martin last night at Palm Springs Pride, because I know you were there. And for everybody watching, pay close attention to what you're about to see. This particular shirt is the crux of the Hopeful Sexual campaign, and it is designed to inspire authentic human connection while simultaneously combating sexuality-based shame and stigma. And the really cool thing is, if you go to hopefulsexual.com, it takes you to an Amazon store where this shirt is available in all sorts of styles, sizes, and colors. And I use the revenue to fund PromoHomo.TV. So check it out. I think almost everyone is a hopeful sexual, don't you? So, Deanne and David, if you didn't know it already, I am a hopeful sexual. I've always been well, maybe not always, but from a certain age, I've always been a hopeful sexual. It's just still part of who I am. And so David, before you give us the most important political news. How was Ricky Martin last night? What was it like?
It was an amazing performance. It's not the first time I've seen Ricky Martin. I will admit. I might be outing myself, but it's true. But he seemed incredibly excited, appreciative, energetic, and I think it was probably because he was playing to LA Pride. Probably 20,000 plus people. I have to assume that's the largest LGBTQ audience that he's ever performed for. So it was really fun and amazing the energy that he brought to the stage, and I think we all left that performance with a sense of pride in who we are and a sense of acceptance of who we are.
Did you shake your bonbon?
Just a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit.
Okay, well, and so 20,000 people. So, and today is the Pride Parade, the LA Pride Parade. And does it still go down Hollywood Boulevard, beginning at La Brea, going
To Cahuenga.
east? Yes.
Yes, it does. And actually, so today I will be marching with Equality California, with Samuel, and with a couple of statewide leaders who really have spent their political careers protecting our rights and working hand in hand with us. It's Lieutenant Governor Eleni Koulanakis. I think that's the way. I always confused about how to pronounce her name. And the Attorney General of the state of California, Rob Bonta. So I'm excited to be participating and to be, visible and standing up for our rights. And just, I guess, one thing that was hit me when Deanne was speaking just a few minutes ago, is something I've always believed. We don't, as the three of us here know, we don't choose to be gay. That's just not something that we can turn on or off. And we talked about how, I think for all of us, we knew when we were single digits of age that we were different. And I always think back to the Dukes of Hazzard back in the 70s. And I was in elementary school, and all the other boys in my class were talking about Daisy Duke. And I was not. I was in my head thinking, did I like Bo Duke or did I like Luke Duke? And I think when you're doing that, when that happens and you're 5 or 6 years old, it proves that's, being gay, being queer is not a choice. It's part of who we are, and we need to stand up and be recognized and celebrate who we are, because we are part of the fabric of this country and of this world. And we're fortunate in the United States that we have general acceptance and pretty strong rights compared to other parts of the world. But we have a lot of work to do in maintaining our rights, in pushing back against the far right and the Trump agenda. And by the way, if you can see, my T-shirt says, "Isn't it past your jail time?"
Oh, I love
And,
that. I really
and
love
that's,
that.
my recognition of the
Yes.
34 felony convictions.
Yes.
But
Isn't it past your jail
we need
time?
to protect our rights, and we need to expand our rights. And
Listen,
so that's why I do this.
well, that's fantastic. So, David, my story is in Lost in Space. I wasn't attracted to Dawn, Judy's boyfriend on the show. I was attracted to the daddy, Captain Robinson, on that particular show. Yeah, I wanted to be lost in space with him.
As long
I'm
as you
gonna
weren't attracted to Mr. Smith, that he always
no, no,
seemed a
no.
little off to me.
I was not attracted to Mr. Smith, Dr. Smith. I was not
Dr. Smith.
attracted to Dr. Smith. I was more attracted to Dr. Smith in the remake on Netflix, played by Parker Posey, who's fantastic. We love her. So, Deanne, what would you like to say in conclusion as I put the website up again, desert-stonewall.org?
Well, One of the things I've run across in the trans community is that people will say, "Oh, I don't want to be an activist. I just want to live my life," and and I counter that with, well, you know, if you don't get involved, you may not have a life to live. But I think there's a misconception about activism, because people think that a lot of people think that it's the marches, it's people out in front, leading folks and all this kind of thing. But the thing to realize is that there is a ton of work to be done that you don't ever really have to see the light of day, and so I always make that point to people that if you don't want to be visible, if you can't be visible, you don't have to be, but there are things that you can do and contribute that are really valuable, so and for me personally, one of the things is just visibility. My situation allows me to do that. And as you can tell, I'm in uniform, so I'll be going off to the Air Museum in a few minutes. But it's important for folks to see us in the community, doing things like anybody else would do.
I had the pleasure of being on the staff that created the very first National Coming Out Day in 1988.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, the research showed that people who knew gay LGBTQ plus people voted for rights that voted for our rights, and people who did not know they knew voted against our rights. Yep. So really, when you talk about activism being a broad spectrum, the most powerful thing that any individual can do is to honor and express their own truth to the people closest to them, who are more likely to listen and be inspired to love those people no matter what their own misunderstandings may be.
Yeah. We just have to show up.
Well, I know, Deanne, you're going off to volunteer at the Air Museum, and David, you're going to go march in the parade. I'm envious of your experience in the parade today. And I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. Once again, desert-stonewall.org is the website. I hope that you both have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Have fun. Yes?
I'll leave you with one thought. There's a
thing
that George Burns used to say, and it's something like, "I'm pleased to be here." And then he would say, "At my age, I'm pleased to be anywhere." So,
okay, I like that. I like that. Well, I really I admire both of you for who you are in the world, and keep being fabulous, and have a wonderful Pride.
Okay.
Thank you. Happy Pride.
You too. Right. Bye-bye. Well, I really enjoyed my show today. It was half the time it usually is. Well, not half, 3/4. We're cutting 15 minutes off the show. I know that Joy Silver is coming back on the show the last Sunday of this month, June. I may or may not have shows between now and then, as I've shared personally. I'm managing a progressive disability of my own, and I volunteer doing PromoHomo.TV, and I'm doing everything I can to maintain consistent production as I am able. So with that, I want to thank you for watching. Watch all these closing credits. They're really interesting. Read the names of the people that make this possible, and I'll see you next time.
In a safe place, I got room to breathe. Been a long chase, but at last I'm free. These open woods, I knew I could find peace here. Nothing like the city where I got tired of the running, the catching up. I got hungry for the stunning high mountain tops. So I made some plans, some dreams to catch, to promised lands, to find my path, see the planet from greater heights. I have found a place ocean, heaven only